that the Caribbean countries are not the US. And when you go there and you break the law, you can expect the consequences of breaking the law. So, but you know, those countries have those issues, those economic issues, those struggles. So great temptation is to open back their economies quickly. And with that comes the risk of higher COVID rates.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. All right, Sherry, I turn it over to you. I think we can hear you
Yeah,
better
okay,
now.
great. Well, you have to share the PowerPoint for me, please.
You have to enable the screen sharing.
Oh, okay. Naomi, can you make our co-host? Because Naomi is host now. I transfer host to Naomi.
I can't do it on my iPad.
Okay, hold on 1 second. So can you change the setting, Naomi?
Huh?
Hold on 1 second. So you can't change the setting?
Let me see something.
Yes, you can. You can do it on your iPad, even on your phone. Just go beside the name where you see the speaker, go to participant, and when you click on it, you see where you say more, and you just make our calls. Go by our name. I apologize, guys. I'm out of the house.
Okay.
Good. Excellent. Look at that. You know something new today.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so let me find the
Thank you, Naomi.
You're welcome.
Okay. There you go.
Hold on, let me see. Okay, great. So we're just going to give a brief overview back to the basis regarding COVID, coronavirus, and the vaccination. Next slide.
I'm trying to move it.
It takes a minute, I know.
Wait a second, it's not moving. Oh, here we go. Okay, now it moved. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So we know that there's an increase in the number of coronavirus infection in New York City, not just New York City, but across the United States, and that is mainly because of the Delta variant that is very virulent. I know we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. We sort of mentioned it last week too. So we do know that it's twice as contagious as the other variants that we are familiar with. So it's really important that vaccination seems to be the one of the hope that we have in really stopping the spread of this new variant. And the longer that a larger group of people take to actually get vaccinated, the more we can have other variant that will even be stronger than the Delta variant. You can go to the next slide. And we also know that the Delta variant causes more severe infection, and also people that are already vaccinated, they actually could get infected by the Delta variant. But the good news is 98% of people that have been infected by the Delta variant are actually people that are not vaccinated. And when they do get this particular variant, they get sicker faster and they tend to be more hospitalized, and sadly, some actually leads to death. So it's really something that we have to really be mindful of making informed decisions to be able to separate facts and science from myths and things that may not really be based on evidence practice. So it's important to know some of the symptoms that is related to coronavirus itself. I know it's been around for close to 2 years, but I also like to go over it briefly. We're talking about fever, chills, coughing, you feeling of tiredness, recent loss of taste or smell. Not like something that has been there like forever. It's a recent loss of taste or smell, high fever, new and sudden cough, nausea and vomiting, and in some cases, diarrhea. I know we did. If we can go to the next slide. And so, what are the things that we can actually do to prevent getting even this coronavirus? I know some of us might not be at a place where we want to get vaccinated. It's a place that we like for everyone to get to, but the reality is it takes some people longer. So while we're trying to walk that journey, some of the things you can be doing is if you feel that you're sick, we want to strongly encourage you to stay home. If you feel you're sick or you've been exposed to COVID-19, you have to get tested at least 3 to 5 days after the exposure so you can determine if you have been infected or not. So keep physical distance. What is recommended is 6 feet. I know this might be challenging, but we want to strongly encourage you to do that. Keep your hands clean by washing your hands with soap and water. If soap is not available, please consider using hand sanitizer. Wear mask. Even if you're vaccinated, we strongly encourage that you wear mask, especially if you're around someone that hasn't been vaccinated in a closed environment. So get tested. So if you're exposed to COVID-19, or maybe you find out that somebody that was around you, that you were around, tested positive, we strongly want to encourage you to get tested, even at the stipulated time that I said, around 3 to 5 days after the exposure, to determine if you have been infected. Avoid traveling, especially if you have not been vaccinated. That is really a high exposure. I know there are some countries, because just like Dr. Cooney said, because of economic reasons, that actually open up their borders, open up their airport for people to come in, and they don't even require testing. And then you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you get to a foreign land, you haven't been tested, and then you get sick over there. So just be very mindful of that. So we want to strongly suggest, if you have not been vaccinated, it's better to just stay put. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an overview of the different vaccine that we have. We know we have the Pfizer, the Johnson and Johnson, and the Moderna. They have all been tested. They're not like experimental kind of thing that they're giving them to us. They have been tested, went through several clinical trials of hundreds of thousands of people, and it's even all close to a year that we've all been getting this vaccine. And that's also another level of testing for different people that have been exposed to it, and the kind of reaction, and they're constantly collecting data to determine the kind of reaction, the side effect that people are having. Also, getting vaccinated help protect those around you, particularly people that cannot be vaccinated. We know, even as was said earlier in this meeting, children less than 12 years old cannot be vaccinated yet because tests is still ongoing, clinical trials is ongoing, and the dynamic and the requirement for children, the dosage level and the kind of level of care that is required is different from adults. That is why it's taking a little longer. So what we can do for now to sort of prevent the spread or curb this rate of infection is to actually get vaccinated to protect the children that cannot be vaccinated, and also adults or people that have chronic diseases that may be severely sick if they do get the infection. We can go to the next slide, which just shows like a brief summary of the different kind of vaccine, who can get it. As you can see, briefly overview, Pfizer is for people that are 12 years or older, Moderna 18 or older, and Johnson and Johnson is for people 18 or older. Moderna and Pfizer is too short. The only difference is the time between the first and the second. For Pfizer, 21 days interval, Moderna is 28 days, and as we know, Johnson and Johnson is just one shot. And that's basically it regarding that. So you can go to the next slide. Why should we get vaccinated? We've really said this over and over again, but I think I remember the definition of wisdom. Wisdom is pounding it in. So sometimes we repeat the same thing over and over on this platform for us to really understand the importance of this. We have to remember how this pandemic has crippled our economy, and really try to take, be proactive even in all of our decision making. We know that the vaccines are very safe. As I said earlier, they have been developed. They've been developed, and the science has been existing for decades. The RNA vaccine is not something that is new. It has been used severally, but for whatever reason, there's a lot of misinformation in our community regarding this vaccine. I know it's not the first time that people are really against vaccine. I know it has happened. People are concerned about the side effects and things like that. But we have to look at the other side of what this thing has really cost us and could really cost us as a people, our economy, and even life. If we don't start acting differently. So COVID-19 vaccine is also received ongoing intensive safety monitoring. Like I said earlier, in U.S. history, them is being monitored closely. There's what they call the V-Save, where you can actually register once you get vaccinated. People like they check on you at interval for checking, like how did you feel a week after the vaccination. And even I got vaccinated like in January. I think that's my first shot was in January, and they still reach out to me at the interval to check how I'm doing. So they have that data. So even though the official clinical trials may be over, there's still data being collected to sort of determine the effectiveness or even the efficacy of the vaccine and the side effects that it could be causing across the population in different demographic, age, race, and even locations. So getting vaccinated yourself may also protect people around you. I said this earlier, people with severe sicknesses. So let's talk a little bit about how outdoor activity and indoor activity. I know we have a video that actually was created by one of our young people that focuses on this. So outdoor activities poses minimal risk for people that are fully vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, outdoor activity might be the safest place to be. Most indoor activity pose very low risk, especially if vaccinated people are around people that are vaccinated, and they ask, especially in area with low and moderate transmission. So it's important to pay attention to the data to see what is the rate of the transmission in the area where you live or even like in our city. So that way you can act accordingly. But the most important thing is to just be cautious across the board, to make sure we're trying to social distance as much as possible. We're washing our hands. We're not constantly touching our face and transferring infection to ourselves. We get vaccinated and we sort of maintain that social distance, as I said. And if you're sick, you try to stay home. So fully vaccinated people become infected with Delta variant can transmit it to others. I think that has been said before on this platform. Would like to state it again. Even though you're vaccinated, you can still actually transmit Delta variant to another because so that's why we still encourage people that are vaccinated to wear masks. So it might seem like the CDC is constantly changing the guidelines, but there was a time when it was said if you're vaccinated, forget about the mask, free to move around, That little moment I was really excited, but then several data started coming out, and then the Delta variant came out, and then we realized, okay, CDC had to give new guidance regarding that. So to reduce the risk of becoming infected with Delta variants and potentially spreading to others, it is recommended that fully vaccinated people should wear their masks even in public indoor settings if they are around in areas with high infection transmission rate. And they can choose not to wear masks when they're outside. Like sometimes when I'm outside, I'm walking on the street and there's no one around me, I take off my mask and I enjoy the fresh air. There's so many buildings in every public area. You're in a restaurant, you have to still wear your mask until you're ready to eat. You go on the train, you have to wear your mask in all those areas. Now that the kids are back to school and a lot of people are actually commuting and going out in public transportation, I think is really important. We can go to the next slide. To be your brother's keeper, your sister's keeper, and actually just do the right thing.
It's not moving.
It's not moving? Okay,
Wait, I'm trying.
Let me find it. I printed it out. This is the day of technology going on, right?
Oh, here we go. Okay. Now it moved.
It's not moving?
It moved now.
Oh, no, okay. Oh, no, it didn't move. Okay,
Yeah, it moved. Yeah.
Oh, it moved. Okay. Okay, 10 minutes. Okay, great. Okay, get tested if you're experiencing COVID-19 symptoms. That's another layer of protection that we encourage to do. Get tested, isolate yourself if you test positive in the prior 10 days or you're experiencing COVID-19 symptoms. I said this already. Get tested 3 to 5 days after exposure to someone or suspected case, and wear your mask indoor for 14 days after exposure. Continue to follow any applicable federal law and state, territorial, and rules and regulation, and whatever rule is in your place of employment. We can go to the next slide.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about, for those of you that are like, okay, you're leaning towards getting vaccinated, or you have someone that's about to get vaccinated, and of course they're gonna call you, or we are like the first scapegoat. They're like, okay, let me call Sister Angie. She's been vaccinated. What do you think? What are the symptoms I'm gonna feel? So these are some of the things you can tell them apart from what you personally may have experienced. Some people do have no side effects. That is the truth. But some others, we have pain as a localized pain or swelling, a little heaviness at the area of injection, or some redness. Okay, so other things that they could also experience is tiredness, headache, muscle pain. They could have chills, fever, or feeling nauseous. That's also some of the things they can experience. So we just want to encourage you, if you're going through that, or you know somebody that after getting vaccinated, they can just apply like a clean washcloth and to the area, exercise your arm. You don't want to leave it stationary because it's heavy. That's the time to sort of move it a little bit, drink plenty of fluid, and you want to dress lightly. Okay, what are the facts you need to know about COVID-19 vaccine? We went over this in one of the PowerPoints that we had one of the videos that we created. None of the vaccines that are authorized or approved. We know Pfizer is approved. Yeah. In the United States, contain any live virus. So there's nothing like they can shed the virus in your bloodstream. No, it doesn't contain no live virus. Being near someone who received COVID-19 vaccine, there was like something going on in social media that it will affect your menstrual period. That is not the truth. But we know there are other things that can affect your cycle. Maybe stress, the diet, or if you're going through a particular situation, the sleep pattern. So that can affect your cycle. So there's some things that people at times attribute to getting the vaccine that actually just things that will have happened like naturally. So it's important to be mindful of that. So you can still get vaccinated if you're trying to get pregnant now or in the future. There's no scientific-based evidence that says it affects pregnancy or even the child when the child is born, because there were quite a handful of women that were pregnant, the original people that were in the clinical trials. Some of them were actually pregnant during or after the trial. It wasn't planned, but we do have data stating that. Even remember I spoke about B-Safe. B-Safe has been collecting data on people that were pregnant that got vaccinated. There's no record at this point of any negative effect of people that got vaccinated that they couldn't get pregnant or it affects the fertility. There's really no basis for that claim. So this vaccine doesn't interact with your DNA in any way, and it basically delivers instruction and teaches the body to build protection against COVID-19. There's no way the material doesn't interact with your DNA. So we just want to encourage you that if you're a leader, we want to encourage you to get vaccinated, and continue to wear your mask because the experience is really very, 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 very vital. So there's a mandate by the Department of Education and even Department of Health to even make sure that the teachers, the teachers and the staff of the Department of Health, they are mandated to get their vaccine now. Initially, it was you can get your vaccine or get tested every week. So that has really changed because on looking at the way the infection rate was going. So the other students that are mandated to be vaccinated are the students that are engaging in contact sports, like wrestling. The other ones are not coming to my head now. So any student that engage in PSAL contact sport is mandated for them to get vaccinated if they want to continue to engage in those sports. The other thing that also came out in the meeting we had with Department of Health is there's going to be vaccine center, vaccine clinic. That was what they call it, vaccine clinic in the middle school and the high school in New York City. So as of today, they have 700 vaccination clinics that will be open, for the students in middle school to high school to actually get vaccinated, of course, with parental approval while they're in the school premises. So that is really great. And I'll say a little bit about the third dose. The third dose for now, from the recommendation from the Department of Health, is only being approved for people that are immunosuppressed, people that are taking cancer treatment. So it's not really for everyone. But if you fall into those categories, you can actually go into a vaccination center and attest that, oh, that is my situation. You don't need to show any documentation. It just self-attestment, just like initially when they were rolling out the vaccination, and it's only those that have certain kind of diagnosis or something that could get it. So this is the same thing, self-attestment. Don't try to go to your doctor and get a long documentation or your medical record. You don't need that for the third dose. Just is a Scout honors basis, and just have to attest that you have you're undergoing cancer treatment or you're able to suppress. I can't remember the other category from the top of my head now. So I'm gonna, I don't know if Dr. Coney want to add anything to what I have said. Let me go back to the slide. I went away from the slide.
No, I
Okay,
think
so this is, I'd wanted to actually show that link, but I think we can do that next week when we get the PowerPoint from today's presentation that the Department of Health did, so we can add that to that. Great. Thank you, everyone.
yes, wonderful presentation. So are there any further questions? Do any questions come to mind at this point? I know today was the first day back to school, and are there any questions that have arisen? Any concerns? Anything that's on people's minds in terms of this big move back to in-person learning? Yes, Sister Rosie. Unmute yourself. I can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Okay. Put your question in the chat. Put it in the chat.
Is it better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
okay, great.
I can
no,
hear
I
you.
didn't have any question. I was just going to ask if there's any question, like you said.
Yeah, I was asking,
feel
Sister
free.
Rosie had a question, but I can't hear her, so I'm asking her to place it in the chat. Yes, Sister Benjamin. Go ahead.
Yes, I had a question concerning the booster shot.
Mhm.
Is there a test that is like, how does one know that you qualify for booster shot? For instance, is there a test that would indicate if you have enough antibodies before you go for a booster shot, or is it just going to be rolled out according to that?
Yeah, when it comes, it's just going to be rolled out accordingly, because right now there's sufficient evidence to know that the Delta variant, the vaccine is only around 62% effective against the Delta variant. Against the original variant, it's 95% or so, but against the Delta variant, it's proven consistently to be about 60-something percent. Right now, the recommendations are for the folks that Sherry mentioned, hypertension, diabetes, underlying heart disease, any underlying medical condition. There is actually no medical condition that is contraindicated for, for people to get a vaccine. Of course, you're going to do this in collaboration with your own physician to know, the precise details. But right now, there are no medical exemptions for getting the vaccine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
There was something that came out at the meeting we had today, Dr. Clooney, what they were asking about if someone was has allergy to a particular kind of medication, does that stop them from getting the vaccine?
No,
So one of the, I don't know if you want to talk about that or you want me to talk about that. The
yeah,
response
no,
that was given. Go ahead.
there's no, the only contraindication is if you have an allergy to a component that is listed on the vaccine. So for example, you took the flu vaccine or you took the pneumovax or you took some other vaccine and you got an allergic reaction to a component in the vaccine. Now, I'm not talking about the actual viral particle, but we're talking about the eluent, so the carrier of the virus or the particle. Okay, Mr. Rosie, you gotta mute yourself now.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
We're getting a lot of feedback from you. So, all right. Okay, so if you have like for example, in the past, there were a lot of vaccines that had albumin from eggs as the vehicle to carry the vaccine. And some people were are allergic to eggs. So that would have been a contraindication, but no, they no longer are using eggs or albumin from eggs as vehicles to transport the viral elements of the vaccine. So unless you demonstrate that you have some allergy to, one of the eluents that carries the vaccine, that's the only contraindication. Otherwise, there are no other contraindications. Having hay fever, seasonal allergies, having asthma, all of those things, there's no contraindication.
So I have a question.
Yes.
I took my second vaccine at the end of April.
Yes.
That just 6 months ago.
Mhm.
The questionnaire already showed that I had diabetes. And as a matter of fact, that was my 18th year of having diabetes. But at that time, they did say the Pfizer was good for 95%.
Right. Mhm.
My concern is that's only 6 months ago. And now they have come up with the research that we might need a booster, but that's only 6 months ago now. My concern,
Okay.
since
Go ahead.
they're saying that this thing is mutating, what if I take a booster shot 6 months later, and then 6 months down the road, this thing mutate again, and they'll come up with the fact that, hey, you need another booster shot. Is that possible?
Yes, that is a great possibility. There are other variants out there. The Lambda variant. They have been many other variants. Some of them are broken viruses, so they're not causing disease, like the Delta variant. But you have to remember the original vaccine was 95% effective against the original virus. But now we have the Delta variant, and so the vaccine is only 62% effective against the Delta variant. And so they're recommending that people with hypertension, diabetes, other underlying illnesses get the booster, because it's safer to get the booster than to get the Delta virus and end up critically ill, you know, from having been infected with the Delta variant. So yes, to boost your immunity, that's why they're making that recommendation now. And yes, there is the great possibility that another strain will come along. And especially because so many people are unvaccinated and they're the ones that the virus is spreading in. They're the ones who are having the virus replicate and mutate and give us all these variants because they would not go and get vaccinated to prevent that from happening. So as long as there's a large pool of people who are unvaccinated and are contracting the virus, and the virus is replicating, and when it replicates, it makes errors, and some of those errors cause or result in virus that is highly infective and transmissible, like the Delta. So yes, that is a possibility. That's why we're here today, to try to urge people to get vaccinated so that we don't have to face that possibility. But right now, it's a great possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, it's like 8 minutes to 8. We don't want to hold you guys. We want to give you back some of your evening. Let's see if we have any question in the chat. I see a comment from Sister Rosie. Oh, it's a question. My grandson goes to Catholic schools and they never miss a day. Is there any interest in finding out why they are so successful so we can follow that role model in public school? I mean, I know a little bit about the school system, so I'll talk about that a little bit. So even though the Catholic school might not be missing a day, but sometimes what happens in some of the charter school and Catholic school is they try to follow like a kind of a different rule. They don't sometimes follow the rule of the Department of Health, even though they should. You know, I'll give you an example. My daughter work at a charter school, and sometimes when the students are sick, they still tell them you have to still come to school except you have a doctor's note. You know, in this day and age, with all of the economic implication of a mother constantly taking a child to the doctor, you know that's not going to happen. So sometimes we have kids that may be sick in those schools that might be going to school and things like that. So I think sometimes in the vein of trying to keep the school going, the private school and some parochial school, they bend the corner, they don't try to follow the rules. That is the reality of it. I'm telling you from what's happening behind the scenes. You know, is that good? I don't think so, but that's what is happening sometimes. But maybe there are other things that they're doing that make them effective in doing that. So if you find any other information that you think is a law-abiding strategy that they're using, that's something that we're willing to hear and share with the Department of Health. That is what the parochial schools are doing and is effective. And so far, it's legit. I know they're willing to adopt anything that's evidence-based and that supports science.
Okay, then. So barring any further questions, we thank you for participating. Spread the knowledge. Okay, knowledge is power. So we've all learned a lot this evening. Don't keep it to yourself. Spread the information. Gain confidence in speaking to other people the truth about COVID-19. Spread the facts and not fiction. So we want to thank you again for participating. We look forward to seeing you again. We're planning some specials. So, look out for what we're going to have on this platform. It's going to be exciting and it's going to be interesting and show you different perspectives of this pandemic that we're living in. So thank you again for being here tonight. And going to let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. The
Good night, everyone.
yes, we can share slides with you, Sister Benjamin. Thank you. All right.
Good
So,
night.
Naomi, you have to close down the room before I transfer host to you. Thank you, everyone.